next speaker is the youngest one here. His name is Yash Gupta, and he is 16. So initially he applied for the scholarship ticket because thanks to our sponsors, our diversity sponsors, there are more than 15 scholarship tickets were available for the people from underrepresented groups. And he initially applied for this ticket, but then organizers realized that he is more than that, because he's really talented young engineer. He works with React for 1 year, he's self-taught, and he translates React docs in Hindi, which is really impressive. So please welcome Yash. He will be talking about React for teenager and his experience here. Please give a warm welcome to him. It's his first talk.
I'm Yash, and I'm the youngest developer here. Okay, so my topic today is React for teenagers, and this is my first talk and my first conference, and I'm really excited to talk to you all. And this talk is okay. That's great support. Okay, really awesome of you all. You people are awesome, right? So now my talk is about contributing in open source, because I am new to this development thing, new to this world also, compared to the developers who are having say 16 or 17 years of development experience. And that's why I started contributing in open source. So if we see, we have some things like the translations of documentations, there was an opportunity to translate the documentation of React.js, and I think that's Nat Allison is doing that. So I got into that translations and I started contributing to the community at my level, and I think most of you can do that too. So how many of you wish that they would have started earlier? They would have started earlier in the web development. Okay, that's a lot of you, and that's something great, because it was a few days before I was watching a talk, and I think that it happened in, I don't know where it happened, but it was a 10-year-old giving a talk, and I too wish that I would have started earlier, right? So. And I was like, if I would have started at that age, after 6 years, I would have been so much skilled. It would be amazing, right? So now let's talk about how it all started. Now I was always curious about learning things, and I always wanted to discover practical things. So practical things, things that can add value to other people's lives, and I was interested in learning web development because I could make web apps. There was Android thing, but I found it difficult to make Android apps. So I got into web development because HTML, CSS was very easy, and that's how I started. So I was browsing Khan Academy, and there was a course, and it was regarding JavaScript. And so I got into it and started learning JavaScript. Then I realized that to implement and make websites, I need to learn HTML and CSS. And then they had another course which was for HTML and CSS, so I got into that also. Okay, so here I started learning, and it was around 2014, and I wasn't aware about any latest standards of JavaScript like ES6, ECMAScript 6, and I wasn't aware about those syntactic sugars like sugar, the class keyword, and many more things. So I wanted to make better stuff, and I started exploring W3C School. Right, so W3C School had some great code snippets that I could explore around, and there was some templates of website that I would fiddle with, and I would just make try to make my own name and edit those websites. I would see what those classes do, and there was a great thing. There was a how-to section, and in the how-to section, they had small code snippets which I would try to understand, and I would understand a lot of them. Now there was something that I didn't want to learn jQuery. It was a gut feeling at the time, and it turned out to be true. Right? And I was then I wanted to explore my skills more. I wanted to explore this community more. I wanted to learn more about web development. So I got it in Google, and search for the best YouTube channels for learning web development. And that's when I came across this. So how many of you know this logo? Okay, that's really less. And he's Brad Traversy, and I have seen like really amazing people on his YouTube channel, including Dan Abramov. When hooks came to React, I was like, oh, this guy also watches Brad Traversy. Like, but he was just to refer what community is doing about hooks, right? He probably knows better than Brad, right? And so I was watching this channel, and he do some videos which tells about the state of web development, like what are going to be trends of this year. And there were basics, like I started learning, I already know a great amount of HTML, CSS then, and I had started learning it, and then I saw React, and React was something front-end web development, and I was really interested in front-end web development because I was like that I will one day become a full-stack web developer. So to become a full-stack web developer, I should master the front-end first, and that is not the case, right? Because you can just start with back-end, but I was like, I should master it. So I got into learning React this way, and I was exploring the React.js website. That's how I came to know about translation, this conference, and I applied to this scholarship thing from their website only, from React.js, right? So I want to show you, these are my skills. And these are basically HTML, CSS, vanilla JavaScript, React.js, and of course, web design. I love to put that Comic Sans font everywhere where I design because I'm a great designer, right? And I think that's a really nice font, right? So, okay, so I have learned much about, and like I wanted to contribute to open source in React.js, but it got too much complicated. Like I couldn't understand what was virtual DOM about. In fact, I found async, await, ES6 promises, and the loop thing really tough. Right? So, like by loop, I mean that I guess I'm going to tell you later when I remember it. So, okay, I'll come back to it. All right. So. So I got and like I was like, let's learn what this React and what are the underlying technologies. So I tried learning JavaScript. So I learned all the ES6 things, including classes, promises, async await, and and what do we call that? It's stack queue. I think that's the name is. It's a queue, event loop, I think. Yeah, event loop. That what I was talking about. I forget it. Sorry for that. So I started learning these things, but after completing like a few courses and watching many videos from Brad Traversy and other YouTube channels and having some courses, I was still very uncomfortable with contributing to React.js. I would open the repository of React.js, and I was like blank. Like, what is this? Like there were so many files, I don't know where to start. I got to the like good first issues right there, and I was like, this is beyond my imagination. Like this is beyond science to contribute in this thing. And so I started polishing my skills, but I was like really wanted to contribute in this community. So that's why I started translating my documentations, translating the documentations of React.js, because it was a like great opportunity to be engaged in the React community. And I found some devs, and I talked to them, and they helped me with some things. And the one thing that I forgot to mention was that's where I started and learned how to create a pull request, because I had no idea how to create a pull request when it all started, right? So, and I think that translations are really wonderful way to understand how Git works. Like there are branches, there are other stuff around it. So I'm gonna next talk about my experience with the web development community as I learned React.js. Okay, so my experience with the web development community. So I found these people very helpful. Like React.js is particularly like there's something peculiar about React.js community. Like these people are very helpful. on the React.js website, reactjs.org, I found that reactive Flux community, and I was chatting with them, and the people were really helpful. Like, even I was a noob, I was creating like very silly mistakes of JavaScript. They were really helping me. They were giving me like really good constructive criticism and helping me improve a lot, right? So they were very cooperative with me, and they were like very encouraging. Okay. So now I know that many of you might say that there is some negativity, but I think that it can be ignored. And I found some negativity in the community in Stack Overflow when I was a beginner JavaScript developer, and I asked a question about like really simple question about JavaScript. The people at Stack Overflow were like, "Hey kid, don't give your homework to us," like. and I was like, oh, this community is so mean. But as I learned more, I got to know what that silly mistake was, and like it was like really amazing experience in the community. So let's go to the next slide. So I'm not attracted to mean people. Okay. So I want to talk about the resources for teenagers, because I'm going to share this with my other teenagers this talk, and they would also be, if they are willing to learn, they are willing to get into the community. I want to list them some resources in case they go to the YouTube. In case this video goes to YouTube channel, they can watch it. And if you find it helpful, you can also refer to them. I know many of the developers don't have time to go ahead and explain each and everything for 30 minutes like I do about web development. Okay, so the first resource that I'm going to talk about is W3C School, which is great for starting as a web developer. Right? And then we have the Mozilla Developer Network, and these two both start with very basics and made me very clear about the HTML and CSS things. Right? So it was like my first language is Hindi. It is not English, but I could understand things so clearly. Like, it was like really amazing. Then there are Udemy courses. I love watching video tutorials on Udemy or YouTube. Like video tutorials, I find them amazing, right? But you should also read their blogs. And one great blog is overreacted.io. And most of the beginners should be able to follow it. And there are some posts which are a bit more advanced, but you can get onto them later. So then there are YouTube channels. I have already mentioned one. That's Brad Traverses, that Traversy Media, and then there are some great channels like Fireship, if anyone of you have heard. Then there is Discord. I already talked about the Reactive Flux community, and then there is Stack Overflow, where you can go ahead and ask your questions. And like Stack Overflow is used to such an extent that I think rarely any one of us see the homepage of Stack Overflow. We visit to questions more than the homepage, right? So here we have a quote: "I love being a teen because you don't have all the responsibilities of an adult yet." So like teenage is a great age to start web development, and I'm not going to convince you about it. If you agree with me, then just go and encourage them. I don't want to argue about it at all. So, like teenagers don't have like much responsibilities, and they can go ahead and learn web development stuff in their free time. Like I am saying that they have responsibilities, but they don't have as much responsibility as adults. So now I'm going to talk about why should we encourage teenagers. So like most of you, they might regret if they start later, right? So if they grow up, they go to college, and then this final year they want to get a job, and they realize that let's learn web development, there's a lot of jobs about it. Okay, so that's when they can start. Okay, if they started earlier, they would be like great developers, and they can just help by contributing in things like the open source documentation, just like I did. Many of you are very experienced web developers, and you don't want to be like sitting there and be Dan Abramov translating your overreacted.io documentation in Russian. Okay, so And then, so that's why if teenagers get engaged in the community, I think most of the senior developers can just review their translation and do their things, and they can get a lot of time by doing so. Okay, so this is the, and this was the next point. They can lessen the burden of other devs by doing so. Okay, so here's a meme. Just okay. Okay. Okay, I think most of you read it right now. So I really believe that anyone can do it. It's all about Googling stuff, right? Like developers, like we developers have like evolved this ability to Google stuff and learn new things. Like, it's all about Googling stuff. Like web development is becoming like, it is a skill of Google. Like if someone has to mention a really great skill about web development, it's Googling stuff, right? So in this talk only, I saw that people were introducing new technologies. Like they were like going like, this is my framework, and I think that Nader did it, and I think there will be some more, I guess. So there's like a meme. There's also a meme which says that this much of things happens on the internet, like these millions of Facebook post gets like, and every second a new JavaScript framework pops in, and so, and there are some doubts about teenagers in which they think that web development isn't something that we should do, and I want to take some time to clear those doubts, and I want to get into your perspective, where you people think that web development is important, there is some scope, but there are people who don't think that web development has some scope, and that's because of these following points which I have witnessed after talking to some teenagers. Okay, so they think that automation is replacing web development. So they say like, why are you a web developer, like front-end web developer, when you can just use Wix to make a website? And I just go blank on them. Like, so if anyone wants an explanation, you can just tell them like automation isn't going to replace web development. There will be a need of developers who just need to make these automation tools at least. Right? There are some great tools like BuilderX that was here in this conference that can use. I'm in no way against of these automation tools. Like they are great, but they always need some. There is always a need of some human support, right? If we don't have any human support, then an AI will be ruling us. But till then, you have a great web development career option. So people think that there are limited career options. They think there's so little to the web development. You're either a front end or a back end or a full stack. But there are many options, like you see DevOps, there are testers, and there are many other things that people do in web development, right? So, and many people think that Android apps are the future, and they say that most of the people spend their time with their mobile phones. There's no need of web apps. Why do I need to design websites? They are old. People used to use them until it was like 2005 and 2004. And to that, I think that progressive web apps will be the future, because of mobile apps, people need to build a common API and make requests to a separate interface on this thing, this web thing and the Android thing. But I think that this the technologies that we are recently witnessing, like React.js and the React Native, these are going to unify web development and mobile development, right? So React Natives, just like there's a very fine line between web development and mobile development, and React Natives like make it like even finer. Like, so and progressive web apps are like really amazing. They can download on your phone, they can work like any other app, they can go full screen, they can become games, and there are amazing stuff that we can do with them. And I'm planning on a like progressive web app store for future, if in case I get a chance. Okay, so now the next thing that I want to talk about is opening a pull request, because I think most of you would be familiar with Git, and many of you might be open source developers, but there might be a few open source developers who are into open source but aren't using it. A great example is Android. Android is open source, but it isn't on Git, right? So I'm going to just show you a video about how can you open a pull request using a GUI, graphical user interface. It is good for beginners. If you want to start with the translations or something, then it is recommended to do that. You have specific instructions on different projects. Like on Gatsby, we have an instruction of opening an issue before opening a pull request. So I would request you to just go ahead and read those instructions and then only contribute to a PR. But with a GUI, you can contribute to small things like translating the documentation and build upon using the command line interface. So here's the video. Okay, plays. So, okay, let me pause. That would be great. Okay, so here we have a PR demo. It is a repository that I made recently to demonstrate how this thing works. Okay, so you need to go to the file where you want to contribute to, and then you can click this edit button, that pencil button that you see on the top right of the repository. And then you can make your changes. Here you can see there was a typo with this application thing. And then you can commit your changes. You can add some description, and that's optional. It's fine if you don't want to do. Okay, then you need to create a new branch. You cannot commit directly into master branch until you are the owner of that project. And then you can propose the file changes. And you can click on create a pull request, or you can even make a draft request. Okay, so here we have the pull request has been created. And you can see the pull request is right here. Okay. So now there's another video in which I contribute, in which I edit the patch that I have. So there is basically something called branches on GitHub, and I won't get into much technical details, but when you commit to a branch, then you change the content in the pull request. Okay, so you can see on your pull request there is this branch from my patch. You can click on that, and just like previously, you can edit the file and propose and commit it. Let's double the speed up. So here I'm console logging something, and okay. And then you can go ahead and added a console message, and you can just commit directly into that branch. Okay, that's fork. So that's how simple it is to commit into a branch, like make open source contributions. And I want you to all go ahead and encourage making open source contribution. So let me get to the next slides. But let's make open source amazing. Okay, thank you.
Recording was brought to you by Twilio. We allow you to integrate different means of communication such as video, chat, or SMS into your React applications. If you want to learn how you can send SMS directly from a React chat, check out this video on the right or go to our Twilio YouTube channel. And if you want to watch another React India talk, we picked one out just for you over here on the left. Thanks for watching.